What is up, loud and proud crowd? I hope you guys are doing absolutely fabulous today, guys. It is very cold out right now. It's in the mid-20s, getting back down to real winter temperatures again. Today, we are going to be installing the glow shift gauges on my truck. Let's get right into what I've got done so far, and then I'll kind of fill you in with what I'm gonna hold off on for now, and I'll tell you my reasons why. We have the boost fitting in here with the quick connect adapter, and I do have the Elite 10 series gauges on this truck. So a little bit of an upgrade from my previous set. And then inside the truck here, we've got some parts in. I do apologize. I had like all the steps that I had up to this point. I'd already filmed them as of about a week ago when I had started this project, and then it got too cold, and then we got busy, and then I'm coming back to it, and I had totally didn't even think about it, and I had swiped my card, because every time after I film a new vlog, I swipe my card of all my previous videos, so I can just, you know, and then I save the final copies to a hard drive. Well, I had left these on the SD card because it wasn't done, and the other day I'd forgot why those were on there, and I didn't watch them through. All I knew is I'm like, well, why is there stuff on my card? And I swiped it off, and then I just, obviously this morning now I'm like, crap, you know, that was part of the, you know, part of this video. But I can kind of restart and go back and fill you in with what I've got done so far. Here's the pillar, okay? Here are the gauges. You just take your factory pillar off of here. Mine's a little bit rough. Because it, you know, is broken off from the previous owner, but you just kind of slide it back out towards the door and up, and it should just pop right off. And now all I have mine done, the way I have this connected, I put screws basically down at an angle, top corner, center again, and then down here in this corner. Some people do just the two corners, top and bottom. That's up to you. For me personally, I like it to the whole thing to be very snug, and so when I put those screws all the way up down the center, it really fastens it in really tightly. So that's my preference. Might not be yours, but that's the way I want to do it. And then I also went and I drilled, I think they're 1/4-inch holes behind where all the pods are going to be. So basically, I can feed my wiring through there to hook up to the pods, and should make it much easier. Now, I did already hook up my boost gauge and my boost. I ran through here. Now, something different about this truck, obviously it's a manual versus my previous truck was an automatic. The firewall is completely metal right there. There's not really anywhere to go through the firewall there, unless you really try somehow, or you drill holes through it, or you know, whatever. I just didn't want to mess with that. So let me tell you what I did up to this point. Basically, with my boost wire, I've got it ran back, of course, hidden under here, underneath all this junk here, came out right there, went down in here, kind of like where I wired my light bar wiring. And then if you look in here, there's of course this hose, and the wiring goes in behind there into the cabin, and it'll be fed up through. Probably gonna feed it behind the dash crease right there. You can kind of see behind there. Make sure everything's well hidden, looks good, and looks like it's well done. I did hook up the gauges already, and I just hooked them up to some fuses in here just to kind of test and make sure everything's wired up good. And I kicked it on, and everything did go through its cycle process, and illumination kicked on and everything. And it looks like it's should be good to go. That's where we're at right now. I have an EGT gauge, I have the boost gauge, and I also have a transmission temperature gauge. The one that I was going to tell you that I'm not going to hook up yet is going to be my EGT gauge. And some guys might question right away, why wouldn't you hook up your EGT gauge? That's one of the most important ones. And I do get that. However, it's because I'm probably going to be switching out my turbo configuration to compound turbos. And if I'm going to do that, that could require turning the manifold. It could require getting a new manifold. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different variables. And so I want to make sure, like, you know, I don't tap my manifold, drill a hole, and put that thing in there, and then, you know, 3 weeks from now I got to take it all off because I'm getting, you know, new compound system. I mean, I don't know how it's going to be. I don't know what system I'm going to go with, how the configuration is going to be, so I just don't want to mess with that right now. Given I put, you know, 30 miles on my truck a week, I'm not worried about, oh no, I'm gonna burn up my engine running high EGTs or something. So I'm just gonna, you know, obviously I'm just gonna drive it like I always have. Nothing's ever gone wrong with it. And but just be cautious, of course, since I don't have it in. But you know, before we do get all the stuff in here, we get it running hot. Obviously, there's gonna be the gauge is gonna be hooked up by that point. But currently, I don't want to, you know, tap it and then get into that, and then, you know, then have to completely trash that and get a whole new fitting and retap and do a whole thing over again on a new manifold. I'm just gonna hold off on that for now, but let's get into this. I do have to just hook up, since the boost fitting is already in, which was very, very easy to do. Glow Shift sent me a little 90 bend fitting, and basically this system, there's a little 90 bend right there, a little elbow that comes out and then it goes up, and then it's got this different fitting that threads in there, and then it's just got like an electrical outlet style that plugs into the back there. What we're gonna do though, even though I'm not gonna hook up my EGT gauge, I'm still going to wire everything, get everything ready to go. And the only thing I'm not gonna do, I'm still gonna have it hooked up to the illumination and all that stuff. The only thing I'm gonna not do is actually tap the manifold. So I might run the wiring up like into this compartment here, just keep it all bunched up and like zip tie it to there or something sitting up in the corner. Just like it's ready to go, but all I gotta do is tap my manifold, you know, and thread it in there and it's good to go. But you know, I'm still gonna wire it up. I'm just not gonna tap the manifold today. So that'll be in a different video for sure, but let's get into this right now. Hooking up to the transmission temp and getting everything wired up. Okay guys, so we are moving forward with the install on the gauges. However, ran into one more issue, and this is not an issue with the gauges, this is just an issue with my truck. My last set of gauges I got from Glow Shift that I installed went very easy. I also had an automatic transmission, I had a test port and everything else. I wasn't gonna do compound turbos, all this different stuff, so it was just really easy. Got it all done in like 2 hours, everything was done, ready to go. But currently I have a manual transmission in this truck. My dad was just contacting me about some possible compound system for the truck he's ordering right now, and all that's okay, so I'll leave that for another video. I have to, since I have a manual transmission in my truck, I don't know if I filled you in with this yet, I have to actually tap my own port on the transmission, on the like a PTO cover down there, and I have to actually tap that and thread my own port in there myself. It comes with the part to thread in, but I do need to tap that myself, and I don't have the time to do it today. It's already late in the afternoon. And basically what I am gonna do is just wire up all the gauges, get all of the connections, like this stuff that's supposed to be ran to the manifold for the EGT thing. I'm just getting, and the trans temp thing, I've got everything wired up to the gauges. I'm gonna get the gauges all wired up and mount it up, and then basically I'm gonna have this stuff just wired up in the corner of the engine bay out of the way, and then the trans temp I have wired up down next to the transmission where it needs to be tapped, so I know how much, you know, length I need out there. And I just have it basically sitting right next to where it's got to be, but it's just kind of bunched up and sitting there waiting until I'm gonna come out in a day and, you know, then do the transmission one. Then I'm gonna do the EGT one later when I figure out, you know, what I'm gonna do for my turbo setup. Okay, so what we're gonna try to do now is wire up our gauges and put them in the pillar pod. Basically what we're gonna do is set our gauges in here in the way that you want them. I'm doing it this way because I have to. It depends on the package you get. It depends if you make sure you have all the exact stuff that you want that you're gonna need for your application. But I'm gonna do obviously the longest wire to the shortest one. So I'm gonna put my EGT gauge at the top, not to mention I want that one to be closest to my eye level. Boost gauge is going to be in the middle so I can monitor my boost. And my trans temp is going to be the last one down there because there's just enough wire to reach that. I think it's going to work out just fine. So what we're going to do is get the gauges settled in here with the wiring out the back and get everything hooked up, set it all up in there, and we should be pretty much good to go. It's pretty easy. So yeah, let's get to hooking this stuff up. Well, that was fast. I got my Glow Shift gauges put up in the truck. Now, like I said, the only thing that is not done is the EGT is not actually hooked up. The EGT probe is not actually hooked up and tapped into the manifold, and the transmission probe that's supposed to go in the transmission in the test port on the automatic transmissions, mine doesn't have a test port on the manual. So what I'm gonna have to do is take off the PTO cover. It's right on the side of the transmission, really easy to get to. Take it off, tap it, and then put it back on. Now the thing is, I might have to change up my transmission fluid just while I'm doing that, because I think once you take that off, it is going to drain your transmission fluid out. And then the reason why I don't want to keep it on there and just tap it right there on, obviously, is because if you tap it while it's on the transmission, you're gonna have shavings and crap falling into your thing and grinding up your gears, and none of that's fun. So we're not gonna do that. That's just a cheap way of going around things, and it'll cost you a lot if you are not smart. This is where I'm going to plug in for the rest of my wiring for my EGT probe, which will go over there. It'll just plug in here, clip, zip tie up the slack, and then take it over there and plug it in. And then down below, the wire goes down too. I'm not gonna show you where that's at, but I've got it all bunched up and zip tied together next to a wiring harness, right next to the transmission where I need to tap the cover, the PTO cover still. But the wiring is all done, and all I need to do is thread that in and plug it in, and it's good to go. All I did, by the way, I just took everything back behind this big ABS module and ran it down under there and right through there. If you can see it, there's a hole, a factory hole that comes through there, and I got everything, a couple zip tied spots zip tied up together so it's real tight together, and then I got it ran down through. So I'm gonna actually close the hood now because I don't need that open anymore. And there's one more thing I gotta do, and it's this rubber boot. I just gotta press that back in. Okay, so I got that rubber boot pressed back in so my wires aren't exposed there. There were 3 small wiring harnesses. I kind of showed in the time-lapse video of me kind of splicing the wires and connecting them from the top, connecting down to the second one, and the second one connecting down to the third one. And basically I connected all those small, really short harnesses together down to this one, and then I ran that one down through, and since it only has to go from here to there, it actually worked out fine. So I got that down. You can see where the harness comes out right here, and then I use these 2 mini circuit quick connect you know, fuse things. So you could add in another fuse. You can add in 2 fuses to 1 outlet, and that makes it so that you don't burn up your fuses, you don't burn up your fuse panel and all that stuff. You're not drawing too much power to, you know, take some of the stress off. So that's what I did. There's 2 of them in there, and you can use, there's a couple different options you can use the way you want to have yours wired up. Mine are wired up to illumination on these only kicks on when I pull out the daytime running thing. Now some of you guys might see, oh my goodness, might say, oh my goodness, that's an issue, why would you do that? Don't you want to have them on non-stop? Well, for me personally, I always kick this on anyway. So for me, when I'm driving around, I get in my truck, and the first thing I do is I pull that out and I kick it on. So for me, that's how I do it. And I guess if I don't, then I don't get the illumination, but you know, it doesn't really matter to me. That's how I wanted it, so that's the way I set it up. Yeah, so that stuff's just tapped in there. The red wire is your constant 12-volt source. So I got my light bar switch right here to the pillar as well. Still need to figure out this light bar switch, because if it's not poking out just the right amount, the switch doesn't work. So it's kind of weird. So right there, it works just fine. But if it's pressed up in too much, then it doesn't want to cooperate. So I got to figure that out. So just some small things I still want to work out so I can have this pillar pod, this pillar set up just the way I want it, so everything functions the way I like. Black wire, that's your ground, of course. I got that ran down under behind this panel, and then there was just a screw. I backed it out. I put the copper wire right behind that screw head. I tightened it down, and then it kind of sandwiched out between the metal and the screw head, and that's my ground. I'm gonna put this back in here, and then I just have that ran like that, and then this is how I turn on my gauges. That's how I have mine turned on. You guys can do yours however you'd like. That's just how I have mine ran. So that's kind of like a switch that kicks them on. Now the reason those 2 keep blinking and the boost one is not is because the boost one is actually hooked up and ready to go. This one, the EGT gauge and the trans temp gauge, those ones are not hooked up. Like I said, those ones are not fully functioning yet. They're just kind of there, and that's why they're blinking, and the boost gauge is the only one that's actually functioning right now. So I'm actually going to pull out of the barn here, obviously make sure everything's functioning as it should, at least for the one that's hooked up, and then when you click that in, it turns it off, it does its little cycle, and it leaves the system. There's a lot of stuff I wanted to get in on this video. I wanted to tell you guys all kinds of stuff, some custom interior stuff that I was gonna talk about with the truck, but I didn't get to. But yeah, gauges are in. I'm gonna have to do a video a little bit further on this tomorrow, and kind of go through, obviously, the boost gauge, just so you guys can see the fact that it works and stuff. And then we're gonna, of course, after I get, probably gonna need some transmission fluid in before I go to do the other gauge down there for the trans temp, because if I'm gonna have to tap the PTO cover, I wanna make sure I have fluid to redo it back up. We got some stuff coming for this truck very soon. In fact, when I say very soon this time, I mean parts are on the way soon. I'm talking a bunch of stuff is on the way soon, so you guys want to make sure you stay tuned. This truck, the reason we're gonna build this truck first is because this truck brought in a bunch of people from a while back that wanted to see this truck getting built. And this truck has been around longer than my dually, okay? We've had this truck, I think, 3 months, 4 months longer than we've had the dually. And so I think it makes sense, at least, you know, to the viewers, the people who subscribe to see this truck, we give this truck some attention first, and then we're gonna go to my build. That's my reasoning as to why we're gonna go with that truck first. Okay, we gotta focus on one truck and get one truck going. Which truck are we gonna focus on and get built? And I was like, we gotta focus on Nasty Red right now. So we got a lot of stuff coming to the truck. This truck is about to look so different. I mean, within the matter of just a handful of weeks, this truck's gonna look very, very different. I'm talking everything's gonna be different on it. Wheels, tires, flatbed, compound turbos. I mean, there are all kinds of horsepower mods. This truck is gonna get decked out and it's gonna be looking really, really, really good. So you guys definitely want to stay tuned for that. A lot of that stuff is already being ordered in. Big reveal coming soon on the new company that is sponsoring the builds. And you guys are gonna be excited when you hear about this one. It's a company that, just a company that we've liked, you know, ever since we came across them online. And we were just kind of talking back and forth. I'm just super cool guys, just really looking to help out and just, you know, help you out and hook you up with what you need, sort of deal. The prices on their stuff is incredible. Some of the best we'd seen. And it just made sense, you know, not just for us, but for, you know, the sake of the viewers. It's going to be a really good experience for everybody when it comes to working with this company. So I really, really cannot wait to show you guys and reveal to you which company it is. And I'm going to try to make it a pretty big deal, because it's a big deal. You know, it's a big step forward at the channel. You know, it deserves a little bit more attention than just the end of a video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. If you did, smash that like button, leave your comments down below, subscribe if you are new, join the family, join the team, and I will catch you guys back here tomorrow. Peace.